Oh, hi there.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome back to my wonderful YouTube channel. And today we are here to discuss yet another thing that I like to talk about, because I don't like to talk about things I don't like to talk about. Yeah, is that the title that I put? I don't know. We are here to make a video on a certain song. It is Moon River by Jacob Collier. I told you guys that I'm probably going to do a video only on Moon River because it's just like a crazy song. But I mean, let's just jump into it. For any of you guys who are not very keen or don't study a lot of music theory, there will be some theory in this video. If you don't understand anything or you really wanted to understand, you can either just Google it or ask me in the comment section and I'll gladly try to explain the best I can. I recommend like watching like Adam Neely or David Bruce or some videos beforehand. Jacob Collier's Moon River starts with very ambitious, I would say, project, which was gathering a bunch of friends, family and famous people in the music world and just had them singing the word moon in the key of B flat major. And he received 151 moons in this case from various people. Like you have Herbie Hancock singing it, Chris Martin from Coldplay, Hans Zimmer, you have Corianri, you have Charlie Puth, you have Kimbra, you have Quincy Jones, etc, etc. Just some curiosities about those moons. The lowest note sung by anyone is by Hans Zimmer and 3 other people, which is a B flat 1.
Isn't that just like crazy?
And the highest note was sung by, I think, a friend of his, I don't know the name, and he was like a B flat 5.
And she did B flat 5.
Also, another thing, like all the voices have like a reverb plugin into them. So he put all the voices inside this Logic project and then he just put a reverb plugin, which is called Altiverb. That plugin basically like allows you to choose the type of room that has a certain type of reverb in it. So like, for example, if I wanted to sound like I was in, I don't know, a very big chapel or something like that, I could. And what's even more amazing, it is that plugin has like famous rooms and famous places in it. So in this example, Jacob Collier actually used the Notre Dame like main room, I would say, and he put all of the voices inside it. So it sounds like that the voices are actually singing it in the Notre Dame chapel. So also, here's a little bit of maths to you, but I'll try to put everything on the screen so it's not hard for you to understand. Basically, the part where all the moons appear, that little part of the video clip, which is 1 minute and 25, took 90 seconds per frame to render. So the video clip where all the moons appear with their faces took 90 seconds per frame to be rendered. The video is in 30 frames per second. And that section of the video clip lasts 1 minute 25, which is 85 seconds. So if we multiply 85 times 30, which is seconds times the frames, it will give us 2550. And then we multiply the total number of frames by the 90 seconds each one took to render, which gives us 200,029,500, which is the number of seconds it took for all of the thing to render. And then we divide that by 60 to get the number of minutes it corresponds to, which is 3,825. And then again by 60 to get the number of hours, which is 63.75. And then by 24 to get the number of days, which is 2.7 days. So basically, to render the beginning of the video only, it took 2.7 days. But anyways, now let's get right down to business and start with the first verse, which is the B flat verse. So the song is structured in 4 verses, each one has its own key. The first one is basically all around dynamics. That verse is actually way out of tempo. The tempo, I think it's like 78 beats per minute. But yeah, and then there's a part in it where there's like some big, like if you watch the live stream, which I totally recommend you watch like immediately after this video, there are some blue tracks. Actually, there are like 12 blue tracks, I think. So we have 12 Jacobs singing at the same time, literally the same thing. And we're like,
Why? Why really like sing the same thing if it is the same thing?
and there's a reason for that, which is the panning effect. With the panning effect, basically you can pan the tracks either to the right, to the left, and you can work with that. Something that he uses a lot. When he records a track or he records a melody or something like that, he usually records it twice or 3 times or 4 times. Basically, he does this, so then he can pan one of the tracks all to the right and one of them all to the left. And then basically what you get is not like a front-facing wall of sound, but you get something that is like 360. And another reason why he uses triple like tracking and quadruple tracking, I don't know if that's the name, I just invented it. He does this a lot when he really wants someone to hear like a note. Or he feels that that note especially is something like new, something different, he'll just put more tracks of him singing that note. There's not much more to talk about this verse. The part where things get different and when harmony really starts to grow, it's when the modulation starts to occur to the second verse, which is in D flat. Basically, he does this contrary motion. When the bass is going down, he tries to put the melody going up, and then he just fills the spaces. That modulation from B flat to D flat is basically just a growing outwards.
So contrary motion is a really strong way of doing things.
Okay, just before I continue into this next verse, I just want to give a big shout out to Jun Lee, because he's an amazing man lad. He is the guy who literally transcribed like tons and tons of Jacob Collier pieces, and like it's not easy. So basically, I can show you an example right now. Jacob did this run. It is completely improvised. I'll even show you the clip where he says that, like,
because it was a gesture at that moment, and I thought, well, I'll do that. I'm not gonna look back. I'll just do it right now.
Jun Lee has such a like an amazing ear that he actually managed to put that little bit of sound that was completely not meant to be like written. He wrote it. He just wrote it, and it actually sounds good. Okay, just a curiosity or two so about the second verse. There's an Easter egg of another song of Jacob's, which is Hideaway. He basically just sings a line that is on Hideaway as well.
That is a quote from my song Hideaway. At the very end, it goes, someday, someday. And I will meet you someday.
And also, there's a part where he sings numbers, but it's like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And then there's these numbers here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so in the D F flat verse, basically he starts exploring harmony a little bit more. But what I really like about this verse is also the modulation into the next verse. Why? Because that's basically the part where music, it's this pre-catharsis moment, I would say. It just goes from like a 10-track stack of voicing, and in like a matter of seconds, it just does the thing of like contrary motion again, but it just grows to a whole new level. It just grows to 48 tracks of like sound and amazingness, and with that it basically manages to do an epic modulation and do like a catharsis moment where everything is happening and it's just crazy. That's like the most emotional moment of the music. It basically has a very curious way of doing it, because there's like a part where the melody goes Moon River, so it's like the G E, but basically it then changes from Moon River, which is like the G E flat, and when it does that E flat, it's just like what is happening here?
There. Because the melody goes, Moon River, but then it goes river, and you're like, oh no, something's on the horizon.
Suddenly we are like in a new key, something new is happening, and it's like the third verse is like the explosion of the song. So we'll talk about that a little bit now. So the D half sharp verse, and yeah, D F sharp. Jacob composed this verse totally in microtonality. Not only is like the biggest verse in terms of harmony, in terms of like epicness, in terms of sound, also it managed to do that all in microtonality, which is
Crazy.
in the beginning. We have a stack full of voices with 12 basses. I mean, what more do you want? Jesus Christ.
The bass tracks here are going full strong, 10 basses strong. 12.
There's like a really fun part in the live stream, I'll try to put it that now, where he basically just changes the root note of the chord from one note to another, and he just completely changed the meaning of the music. So just so you can understand how well that was composed in order for you to feel a certain way. So I'll show you this now.
Oh, it's nothing like a good dominant pedal, man. Dominant pedals are just so epic. It's such a... It's like, ooh, you know? Ba. You got that big ba. Like if I just mute the bass voices for 1 second. If I mute those. Imagine if the bass note was. Thank you very much and good night.
And basically he uses everything, he goes all out in this part. Like he uses composition techniques who are very basic, I would say, which are like the use of fifths, when like you have a chord and then you put the fifth above it, and it's just like that chord is so strong when you do that. And since he has like 12 basses and then he puts like 6 tenors on it doing just like the fifths, and it just sounds completely bollocks, believe me.
Talk about a reassuring fifth, friend. That is indestructibly strong.
Also, he managed to sing A F sharp 5. So remember when I said that the girl from the moon sung a B flat 5? So basically Jacob is just a quarter of a tone down from that.
You got me singing some high notes. I mean, that's crazy. I can't normally sing a B flat or a half sharp. But I really got into this, you know.
Also, there's a reason on why Jacob sings in the F sharp and why he uses this, and like I just want to talk a little bit about that, which is just intonation, and it is like a very crucial key aspect of Jacob's songs. Like the piano and most instruments are tuned in the equal temperaments. This was a system invented by the church a long time ago, so that instruments would all have the same type of tuning, because at the time you add like a keyboard which A would sound like this, and then another keyboard which the A would sound like this. So basically the church decided to invent this system, which basically means that every semitone is divided equally. What happens is, if we go forward in time, most of the songs, or I would say 90% of the songs that you have listened, and me as well, are an equal temperament system. But the thing is, that's not the only system of tuning that we can use. So what happens in Moon River is basically Jacob doesn't use this system. He uses another one, which is just intonation. That's why he can use notes like B F sharp and D F sharp and B F flat and so on, so on, so on and so forth. And there's a reason why he uses this, not only to get more options to choose from, but also because he believes, and I also believe in that is the most natural system. That church system we use all the time is basically everything is divided exactly the same. And that's not the way it happens in nature. Nothing is perfect, neither are us humans. So why does music have to be completely and strictly perfect? And the system is based upon the harmonic series. What is the harmonic series? Well, the harmonic series is basically what happens when you play a note, for example, in a piano, or when you sing a note. Like, there are more notes happening at the same time. Like, you cannot hear those harmonics, but they are there. They are like the body. Like, the note G is like the head, but then like the harmonics are like the rest of the body. Due to using this system, the tuning changes, of course. So depending on what note you're playing, some other notes might change because of that note that you're playing. So for example, you're playing the triad of G major. So that's G, B, D. And since B is way further apart from G, basically that note will be 14 cents flatter than usually it is. So you have a B, which is this frequency, and then you have a B in the harmonic series, which is this frequency. But if you play, for example, E minor triad, which is E, G, B, that B, that same B exactly on the same octave, will sound different only because of its distance in relation to the root note. That same B will only be 2 cents sharper than the usual. Probably every music that you have listened so far is in a system, but then you can compose in another system. So every music that you listen so far, you can compose in the other system, and there will be new musics because they are on new and non-existent keys. So that's basically what Jacob does. And also, when you compose in just intonation, usually it releases more endorphins in the body. Okay, another thing that Jacob does in this verse is pyramiding. He firstly does in quartal harmony. I think it starts in F sharp and then it goes like F sharp, B, E, A, D, G, C, F, and then B flat. But all of this is actually like half flat. And then it does something which is a pyramid, but in the super ultra mega meta leading scale. What? The super ultra mega meta leading scale? What the fuck is that? It is a very cool thing that actually Jacob invented as well. It's very hard to explain. I'm not going to enter in details, but it's basically a scale that almost never ends and has endless options of composing and stuff. So if you want to know more about it, like Google it. He does a pyramid and he basically just glues together 3 triads. The first one is B major triad, and then it goes for the C major and then D major. And he just adds some extensions on those chords. I think the B major has the minor 7th and the C major has the major 7th. So yeah, it's just like a crazy thing, a crazy chord that really sounds amazing. Also, I'll show you a clip of Jacob right now, like microtonalizing things in contrary motion, which is like crazy. Just watch it.
Ah, you just walked in on me microtonalizing. So, a favourite exercise of mine. Ba, take 2 notes, ba, ba, and divide it by a variety of numbers of notes, just because there's so much interesting stuff between those 2 notes. Ba, ba, so you got ba da, and then ba da da, and ba da da da, semitones, ba da 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 da, is past semitones, ba da 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 da, is 5, and that's what I do here. I believe it's a 5. Yeah, Baker. And then even more crazily, you've got contrary motion harmony parts affirming this sentiment, which is really gnarly, and I really like it.
So basically, now moving to part 5, which is a build-up to the final. Jacob does an amazing thing where he basically moves from B half flat to B half sharp in just a matter of 12 bars. Basically, all the harmony goes with it. You're just singing something and it is gradually rising, and everything, every voice goes with it. It's like perfectly built. You can see this very clearly because there's like, he sings this top note, which is of course firstly B half flat, and it just goes way up until B half sharp, and you can see the difference. It's very easy. I'll show you.
The melody note here, it stays the same, right? But here it sounds like this. And here it sounds like this.
Yeah, and basically what happens is, in like the harmony part of it, the verses are all appearing again. So it's basically like the return to home. So then we can finish. It just builds up tons of like voices. They are gradually building up to something. Like the tonality is rising. Everything is rising basically. So it is like an anticipation of something. Then we have like the final chord. There's like this high note which like warns that the final chord is coming, which is actually sung by his sister. It is a C6, so it's very high. Jacob just then does the final chord, which is a B half sharp chord with 72 tracks of audio singing at the same time. there's like Shepard tone basses happening, and if you don't know what Shepard tone is, it's basically like the audio illusion of like it feels like something is going down, but suddenly it's just like it comes back up and it goes down. It So yeah, that's a little bit of like the final part. There's not much to it. It's just something gradually rising, ending in a giant chord of 72 people singing at the same time. B off sharp chord, and then it just ends. So I just want to give you some curiosities. There's actually parts that are not a cappella in this song. There's bubbles in chimes in one part of the song. I'm not sure which verse it is. I know that in the build-up to the final, there's a timpani and an orchestral drum rolling basically in the background. Like, you literally cannot hear it. I've heard like more than 24 hours of Moon River by now, and I've never heard it, so you will not hear it, but I'll show you a clip of it.
This is the one bit in the arrangement that is not a cappella, and it's this. It's this down here. There are two sounds that you need to know about. Here's the first one, and here's the second one. I bet you didn't notice that before. In for this. It's a timpani note, that's what it is. There's even an orchestral bass drum.
There's also a motif in this song that's present in every song of Djesse Volume 1 and Volume 2, which is A, E, F, D. That motif is like present in every song.
And then it goes. And if you've listened to Djesse Volume 1, you'll know that's a quote from the overture. And the... It's a motif that goes through every song on the album. It's in every single song.
It's a big enough umbrella, but it's always...
The song has 5,000 regions of audio, which means that every region of audio is a little bit that he recorded and he put into the piece. So it did it 5,000 times. Lastly, we have a song that has 4 keys in just 8 minutes. And what is amazing about this song is that, okay, you think, oh, this has been like a project of like 3 months or something. No, the guy is 25 and it took him 7 days. And he won a Grammy with it. Okay, so to end this video, I just wanted to jump into a conclusion. I just want to say that there are some people who, not that they don't appreciate Jacob's song, but feel that he only does things in order to show his musical theory capacity and like complexity in songs. And I don't believe that's true, because yeah, Jacob's songs are like probably one of the most complex things I've ever seen in terms of like harmony, melodies, everything. I mean, the guy just composes in microtonalism like it's nothing. So as I was saying, there are some people who think he only composes this for complexity, and I think it's not. I think it's about feelings, and I think music in general is all about feelings, because you like music because it makes you sad, it makes you happy, it makes you depressed, it makes you, I don't know, excited for something. Like, it's just like you hear something enters your ears, and suddenly you are feeling another way. And music has always been like this. You don't go to the gym. If you wasn't, like, you would go to the gym and just listen to like Mozart's Requiem, but you don't, because it doesn't make sense. You're not at a funeral listening to like, I don't know, Steve Aoki or something like that. Because it literally doesn't match up. And basically with Moon River, it's a very complex song, yeah, but he managed to wake up very complex feelings in myself. It's like a very great example that I thought about is that you can, like, if you're a football player, for example, you can win loads of stuff. You can win the FA Cup, you can win the league, you can win the Carabao Cup, you can win everything. but you don't win the Champions League. And you will never know what it feels to win a Champions League, because winning the World Cup and winning everything, like, yeah, it feels nice, but I bet it feels amazing, and maybe there are things that feel even better than winning the Champions League, but none of those feelings is the same as winning the Champions League. And like, you can win the Champions League this year and you can win the Champions League next year and it won't feel the same. And why? Because it's just different sensations. It depends on why you're feeling and what is happening at the moment. And it's the same with music and Moon River. Like, you cannot just like play a little bit of football with your friends and then suddenly you are like capable enough to go to a first team and win the Champions League. That doesn't happen. Or like to score like 5 goals in a final. That doesn't happen. You have to go through a complex like work stage, and you have to do like complex things, and you have to score complex goals. It's very hard. It's very like complex. And the same happens with Moon River. Like, you just can't feel certain things if you're listening to a song that just plays like 1, 5, 6, 4. I mean, at least this always is like my opinion. I like, of course, there are musics that are very simple, and the way they are structured and the people that are singing the song manage to get away of like sounding that it's simple, but waking up complex feelings. But actually, like, doing that is already complex, because if you just do a thing with the purpose of actually being simple, the most simple thing, you'll just wake up normal and simple feelings. Then you'll be asking, oh, then why doesn't everyone just like compose music like Jacob does and just like manage to make the population in general wake these certain feelings that you're referring to? And I would say, well, basically there's a reason for that. Like, not everyone can do this, and this is why I really like Jacob, because he just manages to get it right, at least with me, every single time. And like, Jacob knows exactly how he feels when he composes a song, and he knows exactly what feelings he wants to express in a song and how to do it, and he actually does it every time. Like, a normal people would say, or a normal composer would say, oh, I'm happy, so I'm composing a happy song. And my opinion is that Jacob says, well, I'm actually 70% happy, I'm 20%, I don't know, anxious, and I'm 10% relaxed. And he composes a song in those, like, with those types of feelings. Another thing that he actually does it very well and actually amazes me, like, on and on and on, is like the ability to do mood changes with his songs. Basically, when you're like sad and you listen to sad songs, you won't become happier, because the objective of sad songs is not to make you happy. It's the same as like, if you're happy and you listen to a happy song, you won't be sad because of it. And for example, with Moon River, sometimes I'm sad and I listen to it and I become happy. Sometimes I'm happy and I listen to it and I become reflective. So with his songs, he can usually create these mood changes in myself, and probably many others will cherish and, I don't know, study their music like I do. And he just manages to do that, and I really don't know any other artist who manages to do that. But anyway, this was just like a big ramble, a big conclusion, and I hope you guys are still watching. But I just want to thank 3 people, and the first one is Ben Bloomberg, because he created the live stream system and the harmonizer and many stuff that Jacob uses in order for him to live stream and gives us these absolute masterclasses completely for free. I also want to thank Junli again for transcribing everything that Jacob does, basically, and for being a great musician and for allowing me to have the facilities to study Jacob's songs with more detail. And also, of course, to Jacob Collier for creating these amazing pieces of art. That's just basically my inspiration for creating more music of myself and to study more music of his own. And I don't know, just in the end, I just really like to listen to his songs, and it just makes me very happy. But yeah, that was it. That was Moon River. I really hope that you liked the video. If you have any questions about it, just ask me. I don't care. Just can ask anything. I'll make sure I'll research on it and answer you with the correct answers, or about Moon River or any other song. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Take care.